Caitlyn's just gonna poke me out. So I was like, I'll take second wind, so I can like sustain. Sure. I probably should have taken. I took longsword 3 ports because I was like, maybe I can chase her down the lane because I'm starting with Conqueror. But I probably should have taken Doran Shield because I was just getting poked out the whole game.
Right.
So I feel like maybe Doran's would have been better. And it's like, we have a Shaco jungle. So I was probably thinking something like Wukong would probably beat us in a 2v2. But that's about it.
Yeah, and that's not... You've considered a few options, which is good. It kind of depends on how you want to play the lane. So one thing that you mentioned is that you do have a Shaco jungle. So Shaco looks mid almost always for an early gank. So like, if you wanted to, you could start the Doran Shield, trade some HP for CS, but what that gets you is the ability to maintain the wave in kind of that middle lane area, and then enable your jungler to gank for you. Anyways, that's good. I think your runes here are Triumph. What's that third one? I can't quite see. Is that... No, I can't even see it right now. Okay, weird. Coup de grace, and what's that one? Triumph, Coup de grace, and Tenacity? Okay,
Tenacity,
that's not bad. And then you got Second Wind and Overgrowth. Okay,
Overgrowth.
Cool. So I mean, the rune selection is okay. It's fine. Let's start to get into the game, and then we can see.
Do you want me to like skip forward, or do you want me to leave it?
No, just let it play, because I mean, honestly, things start from level 1, right? The moment the game starts.
Okay, yeah.
So there's a lot of things that you can tweak even in the early game that might get you little advantages moving forward.
I was on the toilet though. I was running back though.
No worries. So you've got a Shaco. You probably want to protect him level 1 if you weren't away from your computer. Let's see.
That's me, top lane. That's me.
Do you think it's better to like stand up blue here, or like guard like this area of the brush, like over here?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm observing, and so a couple things, right? So the first thing you want to consider is like, is the other team strong level 1, right? Like, would the other team think about invading? Because Shaco level 1 has boxes, right? So it's very crucial that he gets set up, gets to his camps, and is able to do that. So, in this case, I would say that with a Lux, they are decent at level 1. They've got double AD carry range. So I actually would protect the red side in this instance. Okay. Looks like she's just hard shoving you in.
Yeah. As expected.
So, okay. Let's pause for a second and rewind a little bit. If you go back.
How do is there like a key button to rewind?
Yeah, there's a little, you see the back arrow right there, top left, next to the play button? The back. Yeah, let's hit that a few times. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that I mentioned that you have a Shaco, right? And Shaco likes to gank early, and Caitlyn has Ignite. So what are you thinking about in this laning phase right now, right? Because you're getting autoed down by Caitlyn. You're kind of losing some HP. What are your thoughts? Like, is it going well? Like, what's your goal in the lane?
It's like she's just hard shoving it, so I'm thinking like, as long as I can stay healthy. I mean, even if I get really low, I have TP, so I can just back and TP.
Right.
So that's the thing, but that's about it, really.
Yeah. So that's not. I mean, that's part of it. The thing that I was mentioning earlier about like starting Doran's Shield and being able to maintain the wave a little bit better would come into play here. And what I'm trying to say is that your goal at this moment is there's two things, right? One, it's to maintain your HP so that when Shaco does come, you can assist on a gank. The second thing is the lane state, right? So Shaco does come to gank, and the problem is you have a huge wave under your tower, right? And you can't really assist. So in order to help a little bit more in setting up that play, if you went Doran Shield, conserve some HP, and trim this wave, you probably would be able to help him a little better. I don't know if the gank plays off or not, but what I'm trying to emphasize is that, like, as a mid laner, you want to be thinking about what am I doing with this lane state at all times, right?
Yeah.
Does that question make sense, or like what I'm trying to say makes sense
Yeah,
there? Yeah, and being able to step up to trim the wave means you're trading some HP for wave prio, essentially. You're not going to have prio doesn't mean you need to be able to roam first. Wave prio essentially means where is it set up for the next play. So let it play out. Let's see if Shaco does gank and what happens. I'd like to know. I'm assuming it's not successful.
I don't think it is.
Shaco's got the wrong runes. He has the wrong runes on.
He was pinging his runes at the start of the game. He had PTA.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, his mental's destroyed right now.
What?
Oh.
So like right now, going like, what can I do, man?
Right. So you can't really help this, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the gank's over, and you focus on the lane. So if the lane was, so let's rewind again. Actually, I'll tell you some more stuff about the mid lane. Right? Are you familiar with XP tracking?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
So
wanna hit
it's
two.
like you want to be counting how many minions it is, like like to their next level, kinda. But I can do it for myself, but not so for the opponent.
Right. So when do you hit level 2 and when do you hit level 3?
I know level 2 is like a full wave and then 2 caster minions.
It
is it
is
one?
the full wave and then 1 minion on the next. So
Okay, yeah.
level 2 is 7 minions. What about level 3? And I'm only emphasizing this because level 2 is important because it depends on if your champion can actually get on the other champion at level 2. And level 3 is important because that gets you access to your full kit, right? So now you have all 3 of your abilities. That's why level 2 and 3 are important, and then level 6 is also important. So that's the only reason why I'm asking. So level 2 is 7 minions. Level 3 is 2 waves and 2 melee minions from the third wave, so 14 minions. So as Katarina, right? I mean, you have kind of one of the worst laning phases in the game. Like, Katarina doesn't have many tools, right? She actually struggles to reliably clear the wave and reliably maintain the wave. So your goal kind of is to survive right now and get to a point where you can get enough damage to put pressure on this Caitlyn. So in that sense, like, you want to be aiming for that level 3 because with your full kit, you can put some of that pressure. And Caitlyn has Ignite instead of Heal, which I think is, incredibly stupid. But you can abuse that to your advantage because that means you have kill pressure on her. So anyways, so XP tracking is one thing. The wave manipulation is the other part of it, right? So then let's press play again, see how it keeps going. So, right here, if you pause for a moment, what's happening to the lane state for the last, 20... Let's rewind about 15 seconds. I want to talk again about what happens to the lane state. What's going on here?
Well, she's shoving into me, so it's going to bounce back towards her.
Correct. So, when it's bouncing back, what's your goal then?
To trade.
Right. So when it's bouncing back, that is your opportunity to actually trade your HP for the recall. Do you know what I mean by when I say that?
Kinda.
Yeah. So you took TP, right? And TP is advantageous for moments like these. So you know that the wave is going to bounce back because it's the third wave and it's a cannon wave. So another thing I want to mention, every 3 waves is a cannon wave, right? So
Yeah.
every wave spawns at 30 seconds, okay? Every 30 seconds, a new wave spawns. It takes about 20 seconds or so for that wave to get to mid. And so you can kind of prep ahead of time a little bit, being like, okay, I'm going to hit level 3. This wave is going to bounce back. I should put some pressure on this Caitlyn so I can get a safe recall and come back to lane. So prepping that, like, even 15, 20 seconds ahead of time, and understanding that on this next wave, I'm going to trade her, and I'm going to recall.
So you
That
think
kind
it's
of...
good to back with like 500 gold or like 400 gold?
How much gold do you need? Sorry?
So like, but if I was to, because my question is just like, if I was to back after sugaring it, would not only have like 400 gold?
And is that a problem? I'm just curious.
I guess not. I don't really know.
Yeah, so that's
like-
the other layer, right? So then,
Yeah.
if you're planning to back, what are you backing for, right? So Katarina has like her core items, right? That's like the Nashers, the rocket belt, the if you need armor, you can go early Seekers. You can get a dark seal if you think you're gonna roam. And in this instance, you have to decide what's the best item for me to back for. And that'll determine should I back now. So actually, the reason I said that is one, there's actually a couple reasons in this instance, right? One, you're getting pushed in by Caitlyn. Getting earlier AP helps you put pressure on her that will kind of slow that down, right? So there's one route that you can take. You could take the recall and get a dark seal, right? Because the other reason dark seal is good here is you'll be back to lane first. So you'll have tempo on a potential scuttle play, right? So we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
But that's one option. The other option is, do you want to continue taking this like extended laning phase where you know you're going to get poked down, you're going to be taking autos, do you just want to sit in lane? If that's your thought process, I actually would recommend saving up for a Seekers. But also, that means the cloth armor isn't a bad choice, right? Because it's part of that build path. So it really depends on like how you're planning to play the next minute, the next 2 minutes. The reason I also recommend recalling here is because when you don't commit to any lane state and it starts bouncing back towards her, you're basically telling your opponent, do whatever you want. And if she was a better player, she would hard freeze that on you. And as a Katarina, you're so screwed if that happens because you cannot maintain the wave. The other problem is like your Shaco can't help you, right? Like that's the situation you want to avoid here. Yeah. So planning for like all 3 of those things is why I'm recommending like when the wave bounces, trade your HP for that momentum.
So just like try and go in on her, like get the trade and then back.
Right. So the first thing I want you to notice is your cannon wave is their cannon is going to die first, right? I wouldn't trade into the cannon wave because that's asking for problems. But once that cannon dies, just go for it. It doesn't matter if you win. It doesn't matter if you kill her. Your goal is to push this in as fast as possible and recall. That's it. That's what you're playing for.
Then TP back to lane, or do I walk back to lane?
Let's see how it plays out, and then you can choose, right? Because that's what I was saying, right? So for example, you're gonna recall around the 3-minute mark and get back to lane around 3 minutes. At that point, you have to decide: does my jungler want a scuttle, right? Because at 3:30,
I was just gonna say, trade like here would be good.
Yeah, trade right now, because you just hit level 3. You have your E, you have that reset. Jump on her, trade her, because the way mid lane works too is all about like it's not just how much damage have you done to the other person, it's how much damage have you hit the other person with while maintaining your wave, right? So like if you're playing like a skill shot champion, those skill shots need to be optimized for 2 things. One, hitting the wave and hitting the champion when you want to push, right? So what good players do actually is they'll stand to the side of the wave, like let's say Caitlyn was to the left side or the right side of the wave, and then you can't throw your Qs at her because that means you're giving up your cooldown for damage on her versus being able to control the wave. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I recommend kind of like jumping on her here. I know there's a trap, but if you're able to avoid it, that's more of like a micro. That's more of a micro situation.
Yeah.
So, what I would recommend is actually you see that further minion over there where the cannon's attacking it, jumping onto that one and then getting some damage in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead,
I
press
told him to
play.
get Dark Seal.
Sorry.
I've been telling this guy to get Dark Seal. He said no.
I didn't say no. I think Dark Seal is very viable here. I think that's a great option.
I mean, this guy, he's dumb. Full dumb.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
I should just back, shouldn't I?
And then shove. You could have gotten those minions and then backed. And here, you definitely should have backed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely just stay.
What's wrong with this guy?
Actually, if you want to pause for a moment, can I ask why you just did what you did? I'm curious.
What, trade her or put the ward here?
Yeah, the ward part.
Because I'm just like, let me just put the ward down because I can see Shoko's like top, so I'm like, if he comes from bot, and I see the wave shoving in, so I'm like, I'm gonna be standing like further in.
Yeah. So there's a few other things that you want to think about when you're playing mid. One, do you know where the other jungler started?
No.
So the first thing that you want to know is where the other jungler started, and then I can explain that if you want to go all the way back to the beginning, and I can
It's
help
where-
break that down.
I mean, I think it's just like, isn't it where there's like not a player, like because it's obviously leashing people. Also, in like, I know this isn't gonna apply to like high lows, but in low elos, everyone always starts on like on their ADC side.
Okay.
Every time.
So let's assume that Wukong started blue.
yeah.
Where do you think he would be at 3 minutes and 30 seconds?
I'm getting that skull.
If he's Wukong, he'd probably be like on his Raptors, maybe his red.
I actually, even if this is bronze, let's ignore the elo, right? So generally, junglers and the way Riot has changed the jungle is so that every jungler can finish a full clear by the time Scuttle spawns. So theoretically, Wukong, if he started bot, actually we saw him somewhere. We saw that he has 19 CS. Each camp is 4 CS, right? So chances are he either ganked something. I actually didn't notice, so that's kind of embarrassing. But chances are, if he started bot side, he's going to be somewhere top. So imagine this scenario where you think that Wukong started bot, you know he's pathing bot to top, and you recall, got a Dark Seal, and we're back in lane.
Yeah.
You would be full HP, you could roam to a Scuttle fight, you could get some Dark Seal stacks, and or get your Shaco some momentum. Because if you won that skirmish, Shaco then gets both Scuttles, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What's a skirmish? What's a skirmish?
Like a fight.
Like if there was a skirmish, so skirmishes are little fights, right? Because in League you have team fights, you have trades, and then you have skirmishes. So if you go from the top down, team fights are like 3v3s, 4v4s, 5v5s. Skirmishes are like 2v2s, 1v2s, like little fights within the jungle are skirmishes. And so the other thing about playing mid lane is like understanding, is my champion a good skirmishing champion? Or am I playing like a control mage where I'm very reliant on what my jungler does so I can help set them up and or enable them to get kills and snowball? So
I want to skirmish, yeah.
yeah, so Katarina wants to skirmish. Katarina wants those early kills. Katarina's an assassin, right? Like you snowball like crazy if you get a kill. So what you should be looking for at this stage is like getting some AP, looking to roam with Shaco, because the two of you are way stronger than anyone on this map.
What me, bro?
I'm sorry?
I'm not strong.
Who are you? You're playing Cassante?
Something.
Yeah, Cassante's incredibly strong, right? Cassante has almost everything in his kit. He's got a shield, he's got a knock-up, he's got true damage, he's got dashes. Like, Cassante is a pro play champion, which means his kit is overloaded.
I'm not a pro.
Don't
I
speak for him.
shouldn't play him 'cause I'm not a pro.
Well, the thing is, he's a pro play champion because he has... So, if you want to talk about it really briefly, so there's two types of scaling in the game, right? There's gold scaling, and then there's XP scaling. Pro play champions are always the optimized for gold scaling, which means Cassante is extremely good if he's played well. So that's what I meant by he's a pro play champion. Like, you do need to practice him a lot. He's hard to play, but incredibly, incredibly strong with gold. So
This game's
generally
so
in lower elo, you'll see these champions like Annie, Garen, Mundo, Warwick, Master Yi, because they're experienced scalers. You don't need to play them optimally to be efficient. But when you get into that pro play like mentality, people know counters. People know the obvious champions, the simple kits. So you need to start playing less about just getting experience and more about who if I am a really skilled player, if I get the maximum amount of gold, who's the best champion for that scenario? Which is why the meta is so different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Wait, so
Yeah.
it's Katarina. The Katarina scale well with gold.
Katarina scales incredibly well with gold. She is an assassin, so like assassins need kills to snowball, otherwise they're essentially useless.
Yeah,
But
see,
if you're playing in an equal lane state, like it's gonna depend, right? It's never that the scaling is on your side or it's on the other person's side. It's like, are you using your champion to play the game as intended? Because if you think about League, right, like every champion is designed to scale into the game in some way. So saying that we scale is kind of a silly comment, right? Everyone scales.
But yeah, but like the issue is, so like, cause me and Horan are a duo.
Okay.
Horan carries half the games where he gets the kills, but because like there's so much kill stealing in low elo, he can't really like last hit anyone, and that's
Because
why,
like in this game especially, like I just did nothing because we had a scuttle fight. I'm pretty sure I just didn't get the kill, and then we had a bot fight and I just didn't get the kill. And it's like I have 2 assists and like I'm just going like 0-1 and 2, and I just can't really. It's just I have no impact on the game.
And Horan's issue really is like half the games he carries when he gets kills, and when he doesn't get kills, then he's just useless.
Yeah, so that's not a champion issue. There's probably like other things that are contributing to that loss, right? I mean, yes, you are kill reliant.
Yeah, of course, but like. Wait, so do you? By the way, do you think like? Because let's say, because I know on other champs like Yasuo, for instance, like if you have a bad laning phase, you can just split push for like 5-10 minutes, get all your CS up, and then you can just scale well. Do you think like a champion like Katarina can do that, or do I need to be getting kills early in mid game to like have any impact?
You need to be getting kills as Katarina, and that's because her power curves, right? So if you think about Yasuo versus Katarina, why can Yasuo do that? It's because his power curve is extremely skewed towards the late game, right? So regardless of what Yasuo does, and that's why this champion's so unhealthy for the game, because regardless of what he does, if he gets to that late game state, he's a terror, right? But Katarina, who doesn't have gold, that gets to that late game state, like you can still put pressure on like an 80 carry, right? So like that's the thing, right? So scaling also is subjective, right? So you can get into the late game if you have at least 2 core items, you'll still be able to kill an 80 carry. Versus a Yasuo, if he gets into the late game, will be able to kill anybody, right? So scaling is also like a little subjective there. I would never say that a champion is completely useless if they've scaled into the late game. I don't think that option exists. It's also like, unless you've been constantly dying, are severely underleveled, and like don't know how to play that champion.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. We can press play and see how a little bit more plays out here.
This
Do you
is
have any-
educational.
Sorry?
So yeah, I should just back here and then TP back, I think, or just walk back.
I mean, you're not getting any XP, surely. There's no XP from this. So why is it there?
Yeah, if I just back here and I can walk back because it's slow pushing as well.
Yeah. I think a viable option here too is like starting to build towards that Seekers if you're playing against an unfavorable like matchup like Caitlyn.
I don't know what Seekers is.
Okay, so do you ever build Zanyas? You know Zanyas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to Zanya's Hourglass and you look at the components, Seeker's Arm Guard is the one that I'm talking
about. The 1,000 gold one?
Correct.
Yes, okay, I
and
know.
What it does is it gives you bonus armor for every like minion that you kill. So it helps you like sustain into this lane a little bit better.
So you think if I'm into like a that's good into like a bad matchup?
It is, especially if
Okay,
you're
okay,
not able to leave the lane, right? So for in this game so far, you've kind of been there. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I understand that. So if I'm like getting bullied in lane, I need to just build up my resistance so I can like have a good lane as possible.
Right. So there's a couple choices, right, when you're in this situation. One, you can either roam and leave lane and just give up certain things, or two, cut your losses and try to play for the least damaging option, right?
Okay,
So what that means is like right now you're kind of bleeding out completely. You're letting Kate do whatever she wants. You weren't able to help your jungler. You're kind of far from XP range. You're not able to maintain the wave. So all of those options are slowly slipping away. And so you want to minimize that. And I would say the best way to do that in this instance is to start building a Seekers, right? You get some of that cloth armor, you take a little less damage, you can maintain the wave a little bit better. Maybe you still can't make it to fights, but at least you're not bleeding out completely.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wait. So like my question is, how would Finny safely engage here? Because like it's Caitlyn. If he like makes a wrong move, wouldn't he like catch her net and then he just? I just don't know how he'd like trade Caitlyn here. Like,
Yeah, if she saves her net is what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that part comes into a bit more of the micro stuff, right? So right now, your body language is very obvious, right? Like your body language is saying, I'm staying away from this wave completely. The thing is, Caitlyn is actually so the thing is, you actually beat Caitlyn if you get on top of her, right? Can we agree on that? So the question is, how do you get into that scenario? So body language is I mean, in human terms, that's a very different thing. But in League of Legends, it's like, are you pathing in a way that keeps your opponent guessing? So do you know how to bait out cooldowns, right? So for example, that's one option, right? So like threatening her, even if you don't press E, you're still threatening the possibility of pressing an E. So one thing I'm trying to say is like, so the openings that you want to look for are between auto attacks and between Qs, right? So between auto attacks, walking up threatens to jump on her. And in that case, you could bait out an E, for example. And the other thing is, even if you E on her and she nets you, as long as you're using that E and then resetting and then jumping back, I think it's totally fine. Because the other thing you want to be doing while you're doing that is trimming the wave, right? So all of these things have to be happening at the same time. So it's not just about jumping on your opponent, but it's jumping on your opponent while trimming the wave. And if you're able to do that, it doesn't matter if you take a net and a Q. It's not about how healthy am I in this given moment. It's about like, how am I maintaining this wave until I can get to my core items, and then it doesn't matter if I jump on her and she nets away because I'll fucking kill her anyways. So you have to build up to it, right? You're not going to be able to from the gates, like from the beginning of the game. You can't just jump on her easily, right? If that was the game, then everyone would be equal. But Caitlyn's advantage is the fact that she can keep that distance from you. But if you play to a script, meaning your body language is always, I'm scared, I'm going to stand back, then she can do whatever she wants. You just got to keep them guessing. You got to play the mind game a little bit here. And that's the tough part about playing Assassins, right? That skill applies to Zed, applies to Talon, applies to LeBlanc. Like, all of them need to learn how to do that when you play any of those champions.
And you idiot, you got bad macro.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, we're pretty new. We've only been playing for like half this season now.
No worries.
Look the feet.
Did she?
That feet right there. All here.
Ah. No, step in the pee.
Alex, mute.
What?
Mute.
Oh yeah, mute. Yeah, sorry.
All right. So what are you planning on doing right now? What are you thinking about?
I mean,
If
in
we
the
if
game
we
or
if
right
we
now?
talk about the last like 30 seconds, what went through your mind if that was happening to you in a game? Like, what were you thinking about when Shaco came? Like, what's your plan here?
Well, first of all, I don't know why I did like a 360 around the tower. That was kind of random. But I mean, I'm just getting bullied so hard I can't even help him with the gank. So I
Right.
really do just need to shove him back. I need to back
Right.
already so I can just get that item advantage.
Right. Exactly. Um, and so one thing that I notice is that if you have that plan, you got to make sure to be like constantly executing towards that, right?
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're letting her play her game. So right now, even she's not on the map, and you're not auto attacking this wave, for example, right? You're not enabling yourself to get that recall off.
Okay, yeah.
So constantly, so there's a couple questions when you're playing mid lane that you always want to be asking yourself, and one of those questions is always, what am I doing with this wave? That is the first and foremost question that you should always be asking yourself, because that's what mid lane is about. It's about
Yeah.
wave management into openings, right? Especially as Katarina. The second thing is, when am I stronger than my opponent, right? Like understanding, okay, if I buy this, I can fight her. If I don't have this is how I should play the wave. So like once you figure out those two things, then you could start to layer on some things like, what's my jungler doing? Should I go to this fight? When should I roam? Then you start to think about those further elements.
Okay, yeah.
One thing that I would recommend too is warding. Warding is very important in mid lane. So like when I asked you why were you warding down there, I would actually pose an alternative. If you move your camera upwards towards the enemy red buff, one really good place to throw down a ward is right at this ramp, right? So if you
Okay.
think, for example, where do you think Wukong is going to come from if he comes from topside? It's either the river or this ramp, right? Those are his two options. Yeah. The reason I said the ramp in this game is because Shaco is also pathing bot to top. So if Shaco's in the river, you don't need to ward the river, right? Because if he was coming from there, those two would run into each other. So by warding that ramp, you actually know that Wukong went bot to top, and that's the only way he can gank me. So being cognizant of like where you want to ward is that like fourth or fifth, like all of these pieces of information feed into how you want to maintain the wave. And that takes a lot of practice. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying all these things are obvious and whatnot. It's more like practicing those things until they become muscle memory is what I'm saying is important.
Okay,
What's cognizant? What's cognizant mean?
Sorry?
What's cognizant?
Cognizant? Cognizant essentially means that you're conscious of it. So like cognizant is like cognition, right? So like making sure that everything you're doing has an intention. And that muscle memory that you're building is muscle memory based on intention. So like randomly warding behind yourself on the bottom side of the river doesn't do anything. That's not a good habit. Versus
That was you.
Versus versus walking up to that ramp and warding there, that is a good habit. Because one, it protects you from the gank. Two, gives your team information, right? Like, even if your team is bronze or iron or just completely incompetent, having that vision is a place on the minimap that they can look and say, hey, nothing's going on there. That's information that they can play off of. And that can all be funneled through mid lane. Mm-hmm.
I'm not incompetent.
If you think he started top to bot, do you think that ward there would have been like a better ward?
Which one? The ramp?
The one I did, like here.
Yeah. I actually think that is not a good ward. So I would stop doing that. The best places to ward as a mid laner are jungle exits and ramps and pixel brushes. Do you know which one the pixel brush is?
No.
Do you see the brush in this river right here? It's like right in the middle of your screen.
This one.
I can't see your mouse, but pixel brushes, for some reason I can't see your mouse, which is weird. But anyways, those pixel brushes, what you want to do when you throw a ward in there is you want to ward, in this case, the bottom side of that pixel brush. So what that does is it covers their jungle exit, right? Because it covers if they leave the jungle and cross the river. It also covers some of bot lane because
Yeah, okay, I
if
see. Yeah.
if they tried
So
to
it's like
do like a
more visual
dragon,
idea.
like an early dragon, you'll also be able to see that. So depending on the timing, that's the brush. The other one is up top. It's exactly on the top side of the river. So if you go to the other side of the map, sorry,
Oh,
up. Yeah. So this pixel brush also really great to ward with pinks and stuff. So
I warded that. I warded that later with a control ward.
yeah.
Wait, so if I put my ward here in the pixel brush, what if they come down from this ramp though? Is it gonna?
You'll see them. You'll see them. You'll
Okay,
see that
okay, that's
exactly.
good.
That's
Okay,
why that
yeah.
pixel brush is so good. Because
yeah,
it
that makes
prevents
sense.
the conventional gank routes. And so if
Yeah.
a jungler's not thinking about it, then you'll see it.
Okay, yeah. Let me press play.
You saw, why are you bad? Oh!
Right now, you're actually hard winning because you have all the momentum and you can kind of do whatever you want. Even though Wukong just kind of... Actually, so even though Wukong just came, this is actually a beneficial situation for you. Because one, you burned Wukong's flash. Two, there was actually potential for a kill if your micro was a little better. And I'm not criticizing you by any means.
No, it's
what
fine,
I'm
it's
saying
fine.
is realizing that that's an option there. That could
Do you
have
think I
happened.
could have killed Caitlyn there then? Because I can't lie, I've played Kate for like 3 days now. So I'm really
Yes,
used to her.
I do think you could have at least blown her flash. I don't know that you could have
Okay.
killed her, but you could have blown her flash. Yes,
Yeah, but this Shaco like IQ sucks. He's still 3 yanks though.
that's. I mean, it's a bad
it's awesome,
gank,
man.
but I mean, there. At least he's there. So now you're recalling. Not bad. Generally, the times that you want to recall is on cannon waves, and I just wanted to emphasize that.
Okay, yeah. I've heard that a lot.
Wait. I'm pretty like bad at the game. So like, how often is cannon wave?
Once
Every
2 waves.
third wave is a cannon wave.
So you want to back when the cannon wave when like the cannon wave arrives.
You want to back on it as soon as you know that it's coming, right? So, for example,
Oh.
your back takes what, like 20 seconds, right? So 10 seconds to like recall, and then another 15 seconds to walk back to lane. Let's say 25 seconds.
Also,
So-
we wanna back that we want to miss a cannon.
Sorry.
So like we want to back now so we don't miss the cannon.
Yes,
so
because one, Caitlyn can't push a cannon wave fast enough, right? The other thing is a cannon wave, if it's crashing into the tower, takes 7 tower shots, which is a long amount of time. So you always want to plan your backs. Remember I said that every wave spawns at 30 seconds, and it takes like 20 seconds to reach mid lane? You have those 20 seconds to plan your back.
That's
Okay.
so-
So I TP'd back because I thought like get the cannon and also have the tempo on her
Yep,
because she has to back
exactly. So right now, you want to hard shove this wave and look for a roam or a play somewhere.
I'm roam top. Wait, there's nowhere to roam right now.
now. Yeah, I think I get a bit lost here.
So
I think I get some
let's say you can't. Let's play this out, right? So
Oh, okay,
let's say
okay.
you can't roam to a lane. What else could you do?
I think I have a genius play here.
So there's even more options, right? There's a couple things you could do. One, you can invade their jungle.
You didn't get the kill there.
Do you think I should have gone in for that Varus?
I think so, 100%. Why? What's gonna stop
Wait,
you?
did I have my E?
So the first thing,
when I dived.
yeah. So the first thing when you're planning a roam is this, right? So pause for a second if you don't mind. So one, when you're planning that roam, do you know what summoners bot lane has?
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about this more. I've been like looking at their champs and like thinking like, oh, can they get away from me?
Right, exactly. So the two
Lots of
things that
people
you
just
need to
done.
ask your team when you're planning a roam is one, what summoners does bot lane have, right?
Yeah.
Second thing is what level are they, right? So right now you saw that Lux doesn't have flash because otherwise she would have flashed that. So Lux is a free kill, but you want to be able to get both of them here, right? So Varus is level 5. If you know that he doesn't have flash, he can't stop you at all. There's nothing he can do that stops you from diving him, right?
So I should have really I should have gone onto the Varus because Lux was like always gonna die here.
Lux is 100% dead. Whether
because if I
you
EW, I would have got the extra damage from
yes,
the W.
exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So being able to analyze all that while you're roaming will help you a lot. So
Okay, yeah.
you did mention that there wasn't a play, right? So let's pretend you didn't go bot, right? What else could you have done? So yeah, go ahead.
I think maybe if I could have got like maybe one plate, and then backed again.
Mm-hmm. That's one option. The
Or I
other
also
thing
got
that you
deep
should
vision. I could
consider,
have got some lovely
yeah,
vision
deep
here.
vision, right? You know Wukong started bot. So there's a risk in this realm, actually, right? One, the risk is that Wukong could be here right now because
Well, I
he
was
started
thinking,
bot.
I was thinking Shaco's here anyway, so even if he comes, we'll probably just clean up.
But what's
True.
Shaco doing?
But where's
Behind
Shaco
him.
and where are you guys, right? Like,
Yeah, true.
he's
Why is he
way
there?
further away. If Wukong was here, I actually argue that Vayne's dead first, and I don't know that you guys can get both of those kills without her.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
This guy sucks. You could have teleported that knife and killed him.
I definitely could have done that.
Were you scared of a turret?
And then the average ones, they all ping Caitlyn because she doesn't follow.
They're diving. Oh my god, free kill Caitlyn. Oh my days, this could be big.
Shut up.
What was that?
How am I gonna get to her?
Also, coach, he's in the cool.
He has vision, bro. He has vision on the brush, really.
Yeah. So right here, your team is coming, right? Sorry.
Okay, so I shouldn't have been a pussy. I should have got in, really.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If I bring it back the conversation a little bit, I was talking earlier about body language. This actually plays in your favor because you're playing very scared, which gives Caitlyn the confidence to walk up. So in this instance, it kind of
it wasn't intentional.
it wasn't intentional, but it works in your
yeah.
favor, right? But if you like are constantly walking up to the wave and walking, like you gotta. I think one thing that you should practice when you're playing assassins is confusing your opponent with that body language.
Okay,
so in this instance, it worked out for you, but being unpredictable is something that you have to assume. Like your opponent is reading your body language, right? By you, for example, you're reading this Caitlyn. You're seeing that all she's doing is auto-attacking and pushing the wave. That's her body language. That's what she's going to do. She hasn't changed her play at all. So in that sense, you being really scared here actually played to your advantage. I don't know if you get the kill or not, but practicing that as an assassin is pretty hard.
Okay, yeah.
Takes time.
That makes
Juna,
sense.
do you coach any more roles?
Me? I actually only coach mid. Because that's the role that I play and know the most about. My colleague coaches jungle, however, so if you have any questions about the jungle, he can probably help you there.
I can't find any role.
Cool. So if you want to pause for a moment, do you guys have any last questions I can help answer while I'm here?
Yeah. Actually, no, Finny, go first. Finny, you go first.
Alex, you go first. I need to think about my questions.
Why did we lose this game? Like, just Finny, like, go fast. Go like fast forward, like extra fast.
Where do you want me to go, Alex?
Go to like all the kill stamps.
What, like here?
What?
Oh, where do you want me to go?
Wait, when did we start losing?
Like when Caitlyn had like 30 kills.
That's your fault.
That's not my fault. She ran around and got fed.
That's a mid diff, isn't it? Go back. Yeah. To go to that like line in front of like that line. Yeah, press that one.
Well, this one.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. What do you want to watch here?
Yeah, no, this is when we start to lose, right? Because it's a fight for Drake.
I mean, I thought we win it though.
Yeah, so why did we lose the game?
Well, it's not just one fight. It's going to dictate the whole game.
Well, this is like a fight, isn't it?
The longer the game goes, the bigger the smaller mistakes become bigger, right? So even if you're winning the entire game, if you throw a team fight at 45 minutes, you're going to lose the game. Versus losing a couple team fights early, which is not so bad, right? Like, if you look at the gold in this state, it's kind of a toss-up, minus the fact that you guys have all the dragons. So, at this point in the game, what do you think your win condition is, knowing that you are 0-4-3 as Katarina?
Vayne. It's just Vayne. I need to try and do as much damage to Varus as humanly possible.
I'd say Lux because Scorn ain't go invisible. And, like, shoot you away.
No, like to kill Varus.
Yeah. What
So your role at this point in the game, if you're playing with your team, which you probably are, is to just output as much damage as possible before you die, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing to that, that's kind of all you can do in this scenario. You're not very strong at split pushing right now. You can pull some people because that's what League of Legends players do. They'll come and answer. And that actually works to your advantage. So there's two things that you can do, right? One, you can play with your team, try to output as much damage as you can, and pray that you win the team fight. The second thing you could do is you still can split push. If you have confidence to split push, the moment that you pull someone is actually beneficial for your team. Because what it means is your weak champion is pulling a strong champion from the other side. So the 4v4 is now in your team's favor overall.
When do you think is a good time to split push? Because I feel like because like I'll split push and I'll push the wave up, and it's like I can't see anyone on the map. I'm like, here, I can't see anyone on the map, so I'm like, if I go over there, I'm just gonna get like 4v5, 4v1 or something.
Yeah, split pushing itself is a whole. I mean,
yeah.
It takes quite a long time to understand how to split push safely and properly, but the time that you split push is what I'm saying is most important. So if you're split pushing and you're randomly at tier 2 tower, but your team is like farming their jungle, that's a bad split push. That's not on your team. That's on you.
You want to like play pressure with the split push. So, like
Sorry?
if everyone's going towards Baron, it would be a good time to split push. Do you think? Because then like you're drawing attention away, or you're getting value either way.
You're either baiting the other team into fighting you, and you're pulling the momentum of the wave. So plays happen based on lane state, right? So like split pushing has to be timed at the moment that something is going to happen, right? So first of all, randomly split pushing, bad. Secondly, split pushing, you have to have a pink ward with you. You have to. That's just mandatory. If you're going to split push, have 2 pink wards. Have 1 pink ward at least. So it's not even so much like I need to split push and I need to win. It's I need to split push to pull someone from the other team off of them winning a team fight. So having that goal in mind is really important.
Yeah, but one thing I will say about what you just said is to be honest, because we're in such low elo, I doubt anyone will come. And looking at the wave state right now, what tower would Finley be able to get?
Let's go to the last fight.
Sure.
Yeah, so.
And let's go maybe this fight.
Yeah, but I crashed during this fight, didn't I? No, I didn't.
Just I think I actually did exactly what you said this game. Like when my team was fighting.
Look how far the wave is. Oh, look how cold I am.
It's obviously I'm like, oh, they're all fine. Let me just split push off because I'm not going to do anything anyway. So do you think this is a good play for me to split push off?
So do you have TP?
Yeah.
You don't actually have TP right now.
Oh.
So the question you have to ask yourself is why is your team even fighting, right? So first of all, was there something to fight over?
Yes, we got the soul.
Okay, so you guys got the soul in that fight, right?
Yeah.
Then that's fine, right? You got the soul. Even you're not able to get there, even if you could, right? You don't have TP, so you can't get there, right? That's the first thing.
Yeah.
You guys got the soul, which is the ultimate thing. You traded what, 2 for a soul?
Yeah.
Seems fine.
Okay.
Is that the question that you're asking? Is it a good split push?
Basically,
I think
yeah.
it's totally fine. That is exactly
That's
when
fine.
you should be split pushing.
Okay. So I just don't why do you think we lost this game? Because obviously I'm not doing much, but we still like we're very close in gold, and we have the.
I
the
mean,
soul.
I can only guess, right? I can't really tell what happened. It looks
Yeah,
like there's
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
team
the whole
fights.
replay, yeah.
It looks like
it's-
you
it's a
guys
mid-
just
it's a
lost
mid
based on team fights.
Oh, it's a mid diff, isn't it? Say it. It's a mid diff.
You guys just lost on some team fights, and honestly, at this elo, team fights can be a coin flip, right? Like team fights are a coin flip. So,
I feel like it's a lot of battle royale and like low elo. Everyone just wants to fight.
right.
Yeah, but like, okay, yeah, it's like this is what's interesting, right? So in this game, because like we're a really bad duo, we're having like an argument, and like the argument was about, he's like, oh, what can I do? Katarina's like, oh my god, I didn't even feel it that much. But then I said, you've got low KP. Look at your assists.
No, because I just felt like I didn't give Kat like I didn't give her any kills in the lane, but then like she suddenly fed us like she just has all the kills all of a sudden, and I'm just like you see the whole game I've just got no kills.
Yeah. So, is the question, is it your fault?
No, it's because I mean it obviously is my fault, but like the question is like what should I do to prevent this?
Well, I mean that's a really hard question to answer.
Yeah,
It's
let me
specific
rephrase it, like,
game, right? So,
like I don't even know how to ask it. It's like
so
I
that
don't
comes
know.
back to like, what is your goal in the game, right? Again, like it sounds like what I'm hearing is that you didn't participate in team fights and you didn't really pull pressure by split pushing. So that is the question, right? Like, so what could you have done better? Maybe you should have just stuck with your team more. That's an option that could be a fair finding, right? In terms of preventing Caitlyn from getting kills, that's not something that you control, right? Like, after laning phase is over, it's not about your lane opponent anymore. It's about the 5v5, the 2v2s, the 3v2s. It's not like, oh shit, you know, my lane opponent just beat me. And yes, she probably played a better game than you, which is why she's 11-5.
Yeah.
But it depends on, like, are you still impacting the game? So generally what I would say in League of Legends, you'll win 50% of the time as long as you are net neutral to your team. So if you're losing consistently, you have to ask yourself, what are the plays that I'm making that are negatively impacting my team? If you can minimize the negative impacts on your team, the algorithm will let you win like 40-something%.
okay.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
Wait, go back to my play for war. Go back to my play.
Where was your play, man? What here?
Like that Drake fight where like I kidnapped someone. That was cold.
What here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not even there.
Well, where do you want me to go? Where do you want me to go? I think he wants to flex his crazy play.
You're the coach.